Hello and welcome to this video. This is coverage for round 11 of the candidates tournament. And 11 means, 14 rounds total. It's only 4 games left. Let's see what happened in this round. I think round 11 probably was the most spectacular round so far. And we could have easily had 4 decisive games. Very, very easily. So let's get going with the game Giri Nakamura. Giri is on 50%, has played 10 draws. And still, if he wins a game, he's in contention to qualify because the leaders are just on +2. So we have e4. Not Giri's most frequent move, but he can serve with any move. We get the Italian game. Nakamura seems very intent on playing classical openings. So castles, knight f6, d3, d6, c3, a6. All this is very, very usual nowadays. And a4. This is all the rage at the moment, this small move. I think I'm basically on record in saying that I don't quite get what's so special about it. But one idea is clear. White wants to play this and possibly bishop to e3. But still, it doesn't feel like black should be in huge trouble. But it is in these Italian games with black, I have my own fair share of experience. It's often not a game where white looks particularly threatening, but it is still the case that this pawn on c3 is dominating this knight a little bit, and sometimes it's a little something that white has in some lines. So what happened here? h3, h6, knight bd2. So that knight a3 idea wasn't really put into action. Knight e7 by Nakamura, addressing this thing that I said, that the knight on c6 often isn't in such a great shape. Knight g3 and c6. Black is now planning, if possible, the right moment to strike with d5 himself. Giri is retreating, getting out of the tempo there. If black now plays d5 after e takes d5, this pawn is hanging. I mean, not that this is unplayable, because there is a funny little tactic that should be acknowledged. So white, this is the point. White cannot actually take, but black has to worry a bit about this pawn. So Nakamura went bishop e6. He also could have played rook e8 and a couple of things. This is not a position that is very forcing. This is allowing those double pawns. And it seems that after d4, Nakamura took and played d5. It seems that this is what he had in mind when he played bishop e6 as a possible way the game could continue. Giri now takes on d5. This is the simplest move, let's say, and it puts black to the test a little bit. And the interesting fact is that after e takes d5, the normal looking move e takes d5 for black, this is what Nakamura played, that this is actually not that great. In the game we will see that white gets some very annoying pressure after this. But isn't this basically forced, as this is under pressure? It's not. Black actually can take with the knight. That's a very interesting possibility. After rook takes e6, knight h4, black has a very nice compensation for the pawn. For example, if white now decides to capture, black will take and is taking this under fire. Something like rook e4, for example, queen to f6, bishop e3, and now a move like, even bishop b8 as given by the computer is quite interesting. Black has compensation for the pawn here. One pawn down, but a very nice knight, good open files, and white doesn't have a totally clear plan available. Black is very, very okay here for the pawn. And it's an active position. That's very important to note in comparison to the game. After e takes, To be honest, first glance I thought, okay, this should be okay for black, right? He has a decent pawn structure, 2 pawn islands against 3. That bishop doesn't look so bad. Yeah, I mean, it currently looks at this, but it can also be rerouted here. And I didn't really see any big issue for black. But if you look at the game, you see that there is a big problem, and this is the e5 square. White gets to put a piece on e5, and black has a hard time to play against it. And those 4 pawns, they are not worth much, as they are very effectively stopped by white's 3 pawns. In fact, we will see a kind of minority attack later in the game. Queen d3, tempo on the knight, on g6, it retreats, bishop d2. And now we see there's this opportunity, but also knight e5 coming. Yeah, and this is surprisingly awkward. Yeah, this is Nakamura try against it, and I think it makes perfect sense to allow this. But now we see that white gets this excellent knight on e5. And at the same time, black does not have any adequate square in return. Yeah? e4 is not something that you can use as black. Yeah, white is just better. Yeah, it's just what it is. b4, intending b5 with this kind of minority attack. Knight to c8, and rook c1 was played. And now queen to d8, getting out of the c file. Yeah, knight d6 was a possibility also. Maybe that was a bit tougher. At first glance, you think that b5 is still possible. I mean, and it is, but there is one point here. Okay, black can of course not take. But this is a funny tactical try. The point is that knight takes is bad because this, oops, is all of a sudden a very good pin. But white actually can take with this, and after takes, has a pretty good compensation for his exchange. For example, after knight d5, white can just continue with knight e4. And as I said, the compensation is pretty good. It's not necessarily a big advantage for white, but something that he probably would like to play. The question is if white actually should play b5. You can also delay this move. Don't have to do it right away. Maybe knight d6 was a better chance. This was played by Nakamura, and now b5 led to black's pawn structure being completely destroyed. I think those moves they make some sense. There's no need to look at them deeply. Yeah, here white should probably play the move queen to b4. We see something very similar later in the game. The d4 pawn is attacked, and Giri plays this. I think he probably relied on some tactic here, but queen takes d4. That was not played by Nakamura, but I think this was a possible move. I don't think white has anything brilliant here. And I mean, the engine basically thinks that as well, or calculate that as well. This move looks dangerous, but black actually has rook takes e3 as an important little resource. As knight d4, rook e1 isn't anything for white at all. Yeah, rook e3 probably. And then, move like queen to b2. This looks very dangerous for black, but there doesn't seem to be a win. Yeah, you can check here and go back, intending knight g6, but black can just move the rook away. And okay, I mean, white always has ideas to make a draw. Yeah, he's so active. Like this is one way to make an attractive draw, but there's nothing more, it seems. So maybe queen g6 actually was a mistake, and Nakamura could have solved his problems with queen takes d4. This is a difficult move forever to play in time pressure. So now Giri plays a good regrouping. The knight gets improved onto f4, and we see how difficult black's play is here. He has to basically shuffle back and forth while white is just slowly creeping forward in a way. Yeah, and now black has to go to a7. It's just pretty ugly. Yeah, Nakamura decides that he cannot take this any longer and takes the knight. This is the thing that is so strong on e5, that piece, that you at some point probably cave in and take. Yeah, and now this is an excellent position. White does not want to trade any rooks here, of course, and he wants to establish this strong pawn, and those two are very weak. Knight h5. All this is well played by Giri. He goes e6 and rook f5. Yeah, and in this position now, the knight on h5 is quite obviously hanging, and it seems that the best reply is rook to e5. After that, white is winning the game, I guess. Yeah, knight d6, maybe. White can take on d5, and this kind of position can arise. Yeah, white should win with this pawn. I mean, it's not going to be like 2 moves and black resigns, but that looks like a win. However, Giri now spotted something and went for it. He took on g7, and you can really picture how his mind worked there. He was so eager to get a win in and get into this tournament, right? Trying to really get into contention for first place. He spotted this knight g7 idea. The idea is after queen takes to play rook g3. But unfortunately for him, he had missed that after rook g5, the queen here is actually hanging. And after queen takes g7,
check,
black captures with the rook and is a piece up and will win. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, he had to basically pull the plug on this game. Now he took with the rook and now took with the queen, threatening to play e7 check. So black blocks that. Actually, sorry. Here they actually agreed to a draw, as suggested by Giri. It is a drawish position. For example, this is a very likely line where this pawn is very difficult to hold. Yeah, if black tries that, then e7 will do the trick. And in this position, nobody can play for a win. Yeah, so a tragic end of this game for Giri, who really outplayed Nakamura quite nicely and then basically failed very close to the finishing line by overlooking this rook g5 resource. So he really should have won that game. We cannot really blame him for... sometimes people blame him, he's playing boring or whatever. No, he didn't do any of that. He just outplayed his opponent quite convincingly, but then had this blunder here with knight g7. It's a long tournament. It's not to be underestimated. It's not like you just have a single game somewhere. Yeah, it's after 10 games plus preparation and so on. I wonder what kind of order I should take here. I'm going to take Aronian Svidler next. Yep. So we got a Slav defense and this line again. Svidler already has played that 2 times in the tournament. So it seems that he has prepared this as his weapon of choice here for this event, and he sticks with it, which is saying something. Yeah, if you play it 3 times in such an event, you really believe that even against a prepared player, nothing bad should happen. Yeah, we have this line which we had seen before in the game against Nakamura, but now bishop e3 played by Aronian. This is a different setup than played in the Nakamura game. It is, however, all pretty normal. White plays the queen to e2, posts the knight up on e5, and centralizes. All this has been seen before in games. Yeah, knight b to d5, bishop c1. Yeah, the idea of all this is that the rook here wants to swing over quickly. And this is what Aronian is doing. One issue I have with this game is that I'm not totally sure when the position gets to be... yeah, I mean, black gets into trouble, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm not totally sure when it gets serious. I mean, I'm totally sure that this is a normal, okay position for black. It's like, this is how you play this opening, basically. Black is blocking on the d5 square, is happy about his knight there. It has to sustain this kind of attack. It should be possible. Really, it should be. He took now on c4 and knight takes. One important thing to understand in this kind of structure that is closely related to IQP structures, that trading the minor pieces. Yeah, we have heavy pieces and light pieces. No, it's minor pieces in English. That trading those, the bishops and knights, is usually in favor of the side playing against those pawns or playing against the IQP. This is the same thing with both structures, because with heavy pieces you have better chances to pressurize those pawns. The attacking chances associated with the pawns, they are stronger with more pieces on the board. So my initial impression was that black shouldn't be in that bad shape, because he already got two pairs of pieces traded, and one of the pieces was actually the king's bishop that usually is quite dangerous here on d3. Still, a couple of moves later, white's attack gets to be really dangerous. g6, knight e5, knight d7, bishop h6, rook e8, and f4. All looks logical. But this is already a very, very dangerous attack. So maybe a little bit here in those sequences, like g6, knight d7, somewhere here, there was... black probably has to improve, because this is now getting very dangerous. He played bishop f8. Yeah, okay, maybe you can play bishop f6 here or something like that. Bishop f8, yeah, here we have a repetition, and now knight g4. And I think after this, black is in serious trouble, and it's a bigger issue than you think at first. I mean, clearly white has some attacking pieces, but still you wouldn't believe it is so dangerous. It is, however. Yeah, let's start with like normal looking moves. Yeah, rook c8 maybe. Yeah? Looking at this, the issue is that white's attack gets super strong. Check. King to g7. Yeah, if black plays king to f8, after f5 it's already over, as bishop g5, f g6 threatens rook f7 mate, and this is end of game. So king g7 has to be played. Yeah, and here white again gets a strong attack with f5. All pieces, yeah, participate in the attack. Yeah, black cannot capture here. Yeah, for example, after bishop e7, knight f5 will win. So bishop g5, and now f g6, and we see again rook f7 is in the air, knight f7 is in the air. Whew. Yeah. Black only has one move that doesn't lose immediately. This is f5, and then knight f7 also leads to a good position for white. This is maybe still better than what was possible in the game, as Svidler played h5. Yeah, Aronian now plays bishop takes e7, but it seems that the move knight h6 check would have been extremely dangerous for black. The point is that after king g7, white has this move h4. And this is not a super intuitive decision, I think. Yeah, white is kind of... yeah, strategically it looks awful, but it is just a fantastic attack. And I don't really know if black is able to defend against it. The idea, and this is not super intuitive, is actually rook e3 and then possibly knight f7 or f5. For example, I can show you one line. If queen c7, yeah, to connect rooks, rook e3, things are getting very, very critical already. What is black supposed to play now? If he plays, let's say, knight to b6, then f5 is already killing again. Yeah, black cannot take with this as e7 hangs, or bishop e7. This is probably even stronger. Well, this completely impossible. And if you take this, I'm just going to recapture. And again, this is impossible to stand. The white attack is super strong. Another line like rook c8 comes into consideration. But after you see f5, you can quickly discard the whole thing. This is absolutely killing. And bishop g5, there's fe6 again, threatening rook here. And black is totally crushed. I am not sure that there's a defense after h4. I looked a bit, yeah, with the engine, and it doesn't find anything, basically. It seems to be a pretty much decisive attack. So black has to, yeah, there must be some errors earlier, some mistakes by black, but I'm not really sure where they are. Yeah, all this move looked fairly natural, so it's not a clear thing to pinpoint. Yeah, Aronian didn't do that. He took on e7. Queen takes and knight e5. And okay, white still looks, white's position still looks attractive. Yeah, he has those active rook and knight, and black is under pressure. However, if there is no direct blow, like a mate or whatever, yeah, it's all nice and good then, but if you cannot deliver a final blow, it's not such a bad position. Yeah, Svidler is finding all the moves here. Rook h5 was the threat, so goes back to h8. Knight f3, and now black got rid of the last minor piece in exactly the right moment. Yeah, as f takes is not possible. So rook takes and queen to d6. There was also queen f6, a couple of options. So black now has reached his goal. He's gotten rid of all the minor pieces, and now if this was a little bit different, yeah, let's say the pawn not on h5 but back on h7, then black would start to play against those pawns and would be really a little bit better. In this particular position, with h5 being played and white being so active, it is, I think, probably equal. Yeah, queen d2 had a threatened f5, but okay, easy to address. Rook g3, rook h8, so h5 was hanging. So Svidler is defending this very, very, yeah, reliably. Yeah, sees all the threats and makes sure they don't work. Queen to b7. Yeah, so he gave up this pawn. It wasn't necessary. He could have played b6 instead, but he gave up that b7 pawn. However, after this, now he actually makes a mistake. This is something that becomes apparent quite quickly. He should play queen to a3 and directly going for counterplay against a3. It's important to note, and this is maybe one reason why this was rejected, that direct attacking continuations here, like yeah, let's look at the sacrifice.
Check.
If white takes and takes with the rook, it's important to note that after queen c1 check, king f2, queen b2, check, check, that here black needs the move queen to b1, indirectly covering this. Yeah, rook takes, king h7 is just a draw. Yeah, this is a perpetual. Not easy to see, this queen b1 resource. So maybe Svidler was afraid that this would happen. This is why he played rook h to c8. But now there was a second chance for Aronian. After, I mean, he had this knight h6 and h4, which I think once you have found this, you're probably on the road to victory. That attack doesn't look defensible. Okay, here, Aronian could have played the move h3, addressing the back rank issues and just continuing the play. And the problem is that now this kind of counter attack is just not working, as rook takes e6 is going to be played. Yeah, there is no meaningful counterplay now, as king h2 is completely safe. So black cannot play this. In fact, only one move, as white is also still threatening to take material. Only one move continues the game, that is queen c6. Everything else is even worse. And then after d5 takes, rook takes, white is just playing a pawn up, just like that. And there is very little reason to believe that he could ever lose the game. It's just a flat pawn. Yeah, he played rook b5, however, and this is spoiling the game to an equal position at first. Yeah, here. Yeah, note that here this move was possible, but after this is an immediate draw. So maybe Aronian still wanted to try something, which is, he was on +1 before that game, so win would have been fantastic. So probably he just wanted to continue at all costs, trying to win, and it's a time trouble. It's a time trouble issue also. Yeah, rook b8, and yeah, here Aronian is spoiling the whole thing by playing queen to e2. He probably had to play queen to b1, trying to keep it like that. Black is already a little bit easier to play, but the likelihood of a draw is very, very high here. Yeah, for example, like h4, rook here, a6, and yeah, then you can do something like this and activate with this. Yeah, it will probably end in some equal ending. Yeah, rook b1. So it's a funny line, actually.
Check.
Yeah, and now white has a couple of options. Let's see, what is the easiest way to draw here? I only looked that far. Okay, you can always play like king f3 and do something like this and draw this pawn down, but it's not much fun. You probably have something better here. Maybe it's just this move and play like this. Yeah, this should be an easy draw. Yeah, white is active here. Yeah, this is a pretty clear draw. Yeah, this is what he should have done. He played queen c2, however, and this is leading into big trouble.
Check.
Queen c1 check. And what now? Yeah, he played king f2. This looks like a stupid move, frankly, but the alternatives, he saw that f4 is hanging, right? The alternatives are not great, however. Yeah? Queen f1 is the alternative, but this is also not fun. Yeah, black goes here and will get b5 next as c4 hangs the d4 pawn. It's not fun. It really isn't. So I guess he decided to just drop this one instead.
Check.
A repetition.
Check.
Yeah, and now Svidler, after having reached time control, took some time and then found the correct move here, king to g8. Nice one. Yeah, the big idea is that now black is out of this check, so that the black queen can actually move. Yeah, and now Aronian had to play rook f3. That was the final opportunity to make a fight out of it. The idea is that here you can try to escape into the rook ending, which, let's say after these moves, is better for black. But a rook ending always has some drawing chances. Yeah, especially here you can still hope to get some 2 pawns against 3 pawns or something, if black is not playing it perfectly. It's what he had to do. He played this, however, and now after a6 I think it's over. Yeah, this is getting lost, this pawn, and the the consequences are just too severe. Yeah, the
check,
b pawn also is dangerous. And here after rook a8
check,
and queen b2, Aronian already resigned. Yeah, he fell apart pretty quickly after his blunder on move 38. He probably also was very disappointed by the course of the game, because it was clear that he had a strong attack, but he simply couldn't deal the decisive blow. It was a very key game, I think, for the tournament. If Aronian would have won that, he would have been back on +2. Instead, he now lost it and is back on 50%, which is basically the end of the tournament. I mean, almost. There's 3 rounds left and 2 wins, yeah. But it seems very unlikely. Okay, the next game to check is Topalov Caruana. Let's load that. Yeah, we see a new opening for this tournament. The symmetrical English here. It seems that c4 is one of the clearly fashionable moves in this event, but there seems to be some kind of unspoken agreement that e5 is the best move and should be played. Well, not with Caruana. Yeah, he plays c5. Yeah, in fact, this is something that I wanted to mention. I think that both Caruana and Karjakin, Caruana even more so, is a little bit more versatile in their openings in this event. Yeah, Caruana, for example, played a modern Benoni against Aronian. Yeah? And something more enterprising than the standard kind of things that they all play in a way. Okay, Topalov goes for d4. And this is quite notable, yeah, by the way, because for a long time, most white players went knight c3 in this position, and still do. This is the main move, or sometimes g3, but knight c3 is the most common. But white really has a hard time to find anything against black going d5, and this is a line that Caruana actually has in his repertoire. Here you can sometimes transpose to Grünfeld type of things, but white has a couple of pure English options, but they all don't seem to currently lead to that much. So d4, going for the opening of the center and preempting any black d5 ideas. Okay, Caruana took it and now played knight to c6. Here black also has the option to play e5, this aggressive gambit. However, I think this is probably a little bit too loose for such an event. Yeah, after knight d5, black goes d5 and bishop to c5. This is something where I also have some objective doubts about black's play. It's pretty popular with aggressive players, but I don't believe it. Yeah, knight c6 is more sound. Knight c3 and e6, the main line of this sub-variation of the English. Topalov goes g3, this is again the main move. a3 is also something that I would recommend for white players as an alternative, but there are many options. So g3, queen to b6. Black is looking for direct counterplay, attacking this knight, and the knight now can go to b3 or to b5. Knight to b5 is a much sharper move and played by Topalov also in accordance with his general style of chess. Knight e5 attacks this pawn on c4. Yeah, it's important that white is not actually obliged to cover this pawn. In fact, he never does. He only seeks for opportunities to give it away, to get active play. Bishop g2 or bishop f4 are the moves. Bishop g2 is the more frequently seen move, and here there are a couple of options that how the game could continue. One, for example, is that one thing to note is that black should not grab this pawn after queen to a4. White is getting a very dangerous initiative for that. Yeah, if black goes back, for example, some castles, bishop f4. It's such a super dangerous gambit position with everything being active. The move bishop f4 is also very aggressive. Here you can immediately see that this is not working.
Check.
But on the other hand, what should black play? The normal looking move, d6, is actually very, very dangerous. After, for example, bishop to g2, black cannot capture on c4, as queen a4 is a huge double or triple threat if you want. It's it looks very dangerous. If black goes a6 in this position, queen a4 is going to be very, very problematic. After knight fd7, white wins immediately with the move c5. This is a funny line that was shown to me by Grandmaster Lars Bo Hansen when we did a commentary for that round together for the ICC. This was from one of his games that he has played against Grandmaster Nick de Firmian. It's really a funny line. After knight takes, it's immediately over. It's a double check. After pawn takes, bishop takes, white just wins the house. Again we have double checks. So queen takes. And now just bishop e3, and where is the queen going? it has no squares. Something like a takes as queen a8, or queen c4, white takes and nets this whole rook. We see it's a tricky line, but of course Caruana is better prepared than that and plays knight f to g4, attacking on f2. E3, and now a6. And first impression, shaky position. White cannot move the knight as b2 is hanging. So what is he supposed to do? He's got two moves actually. He's got the move played in the game, queen a4 or h3. This is something that is also possible. Leads to very funny positions. After a takes, pawn takes, the move queen c6 is the problem. Attacks the rook, and if white now moves this rook, let's say here, then black can play this. And all of a sudden, we have a very weird perpetual draw, or perpetual check in a way. Funny lines. Queen a4 is the alternative, and probably better, setting more problems at least. And now Caruana plays the very funny looking move, rook a7. Unpinning. Threatening this. And white cannot take that rook because queen b2 would attack everything with check. This is a disaster. White cannot do that at all. He actually only has one decent move, and this is the move played by Topalov, h3. This is a position that is kind of a little bit it can be very tricky to play over the board. I think they both were within their preparation somehow, but it's still very difficult to get to grasp with it. Taken, and now this knight is attacked. If it moves, e5 is hanging. The check here doesn't lead to anything. There's still two knights hanging. Really weird. So the best move is what Caruana played. He played queen to c6, attacking this rook. And now, what is white supposed to do? He's still a piece down. We have to count correctly. So he took the knight on g4, just giving away the exchange. And now he captured on e5. So if we do a count now, white has got 7 pawns, black's got 6 pawns. So white has a pawn for the exchange. And he has active pieces, active bishop, active queen. The weird thing also about this position is that black queen is currently on h1. White definitely has enough for the exchange here. Queen c6, bishop d4, that was clearing the 5th rank and attacking the rook, of course. So rook went back, a3. He was probably afraid that at some point some bishop b4 could happen after the queen trade or the queen moves away. And all this is okay. White has a strong compensation. King to f8. This doesn't look like a move you love to play, but if you castle, you also don't feel very safe here in this position. So I understand the point. King f8, long castles, and b6. Instead of long castles, white also had an interesting alternative, the move c5. This is probably stronger. Black now has some problems with the coordination of his pieces. You cannot play an easy b6 now anymore, for example. How do you get this into the play? This bishop, I mean. d6, okay, but this is a tempo. And in a position like that, White's initiative based on his piece play looks rather dangerous. c5 was a very good alternative to long castles. Yeah, he castled long. b6. Quickly, c5 is taken away. Yeah, knight b5 as c4 was hanging. And rook d8 covering the d7 pawn and possibly preparing a push of the d pawn. Yeah, in this position now, probably objectively best. Hard to say. Probably objectively best was the move knight to d6. Spectacular looking move, but in fact this is the same thing as forcing a draw in a way. Threatening mate. Black has to take the knight, and queen takes is easily dismissed as it blunders the house. So bishop takes, and now white with bishop g7 can force a perpetual check.
Check.
Yeah, this is the draw. So Topalov could have ended the game right here with knight to d6. I think Caruana didn't have a chance to avoid this possibility. He had to defend anyway from this opening, and yeah, he didn't do it. Topalov played bishop c3. I think in some way this is typical of his play. He's probably one of the most ambitious players around, but also if you look at the tournament standings, he's totally out of contention for first place, and I think he just wants to play some interesting games and see that he can maybe get a win in. I mean, he doesn't have a win in this tournament yet, which is pretty awful after 10 rounds for a player of his status. So I think he just wants to, in a way, gamble a little bit, yeah, play sharp and see what happens. The consequence, however, of this move is that after bishop takes b5, that good knight is taken away, and black invades here with queen f3. One problem is now that the proceedings now are pretty much forced. The rook is attacked, went here to keep this protected, and now bishop f6. And the bad thing is that this is a good diagonal for this bishop. White does not want to trade. Yeah, I mean, something like this. Even g takes is good, yeah, with king h7 to come, and then the rook will get into the play. Here black is totally fine, totally safe, and the bishop pair is also cut in half. So this was played. This is a stronger option. King g8, bishop d6, relatively best, and this rook comes to this open file. Yeah, the big problem is that black's intention is to play h5 at some point, like it happened here. Yeah, queen h3, check. This was a little intermezzo, and then h5. Black is slowly getting out of his somewhat cramped position, and the moment this rook gets into the play is the moment where white's game goes downhill. Around here it gets very difficult to give white any advice. Yeah, something like rook d7 is probably immediately losing here. And what exactly is your play? If you take rook takes, white cannot avoid the queen trade, and this is also not very nice. He tried this move. This bishop comes to d6, but now we see that both black's rooks get extremely active, and around here it really looked like Caruana will win in the next couple of moves. Yeah, I mean, pure counting shows us that black is a complete exchange up. The only thing that white still has left are tricks, and this is all about this b pawn and those 3 against 1 pawn. In some cases, white is able to use this b5 pawn after a tactic. We will see some of those ideas in the game. Rook c1 is good. Bishop comes to d3. Bishop g5. Bishop f4. Yeah, here is the first moment where you can argue about Caruana's decision now. He plays the move bishop to e7. This is not a bad move, objectively speaking, but it gets more difficult, let's say, afterwards than necessary. He could have just taken this, and let's say after e takes f4, play king f8, and then king to e7. In this position, I think black will win very easily, because there is very little that white can try. This b-pawn counterplay, that was really, I mean, the bishop on f4 helped this a lot. If you imagine the b-pawn all of a sudden, like after a4, a5, starting to run, it's so helpful to have a bishop look at this promotion square. Here, I think after a4, king e7, there is no, this is not quick enough, simply. Look at black's rooks, they are very active. This was a pretty clean win for Caruana. Okay, he went to e7, which is not, as I said, objectively bad. It's just that it gets a bit trickier than it probably needed to be. Now after e5 comes the real problem. He now can win the game with king f8 or with f5. Both moves should win. King f8 probably being the more intuitive one, to get the king somehow involved, or king with to e8. After b4, there's bishop to d4. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, this is still looking kind of dangerous, yeah? But
check.
It is ultimately not enough. Yeah, king f8 would win. f5 also looks like a win, stopping possible bishop to e4s, and something like this gives black too big a center to stand. Yeah. f5 maybe a move that irritated him possibly was the capture here. After takes, there's e6, and well, if white gets a check in, then white can take. However, it doesn't really matter that much. Black can take
check
and play like this. Here black should win, even though you can, well, this is something where if you have very low time, you could maybe fear that still there's some kind of counterplay. Objectively black wins, but yeah, I'm not quite sure what ghost Caruana saw here. Maybe he was just annoyed that this rook is in this bishop's diagonal. He played rook e1, but now rook c2 by Topalov, and now black's task is difficult. It really is. The problem is that there is this counterplay with the b-pawn. For example, after rook takes f2, all of a sudden white takes here. He's 2 exchanges down, but after this b6, and you cannot stop that pawn. It's really quite remarkable. And yeah, this is probably a very awkward moment. Yeah, you had everything under control. You had an exchange up, and looked like yeah, being on the way to win this tournament. And then all of a sudden you start to see lines that could actually lose for you. Yeah, it's very tough now to say what black's best move is. He decided to play g5 with very little time on the clock. I think the main reason for this was to play a forcing move and get rid of the e-pawn also. Takes. This was played. Yeah, Topalov went bishop f6, and now Caruana played rook d5, and with this move offered a draw. That is a pretty, yeah, this is a tough call. Yeah, this draw offer. I think that he was probably afraid that after the trend of the game was so bad that he would spoil it entirely. If you look at this with together with the engine, you could easily say, why did he offer a draw? Isn't black just better? Yeah, probably black is better and has still chances, but I understand this decision. It's sometimes good to be not too ambitious and kind of yeah, cut your losses in a way. If you feel like something's off, it's often not such a bad idea to be okay with the draw in some situations. What about this objectively? Yeah, rook d5. White will play bishop e4. That bishop is attacked, and e4 is a good square. The thing is, this can get incredibly unclear if black plays the move rook h5. Yeah, let's say after b4 goes back, yeah, and some normal move, let's say a bishop here or something, yeah, and a4 a5 is the idea. And this is not clear at all. I mean, the exchange is still an exchange, but white's bishops are very strong, and those kind of pawns, they can be very, very difficult to handle. What was possible, however, seems to be after bishop e4, the move, yeah, just rook takes f2. That was probably possible. After rook takes, bishop takes, bishop e5. It seems that black is better in this ending. Yeah, he's just a pawn up, and this pawn structure is so totally rotten, but it seems he's better here, which is very, very difficult to call when you are just at the board and don't have the help of a computer. King f8, king e7 is the idea, and stepping up. This bishop does a very good job in limiting those pawns, and black can also go f5. However, I'm not 100% sure if this is a serious winning attempt. So I totally understand what Caruana did there. Having, playing on in this kind of position without a clear picture how to win, and then losing it is, this is the worst ever. Yeah? So he made a draw and preserves all of his chances there with a +2 score. Okay, the next game and crucial game of the round is Anand Karjakin. And I have to say that I'm not totally sure what to tell you about this game. During the end of it, it gets very, very, very difficult to assess. And okay, I'm going to just show you the game. And I can tell you that I looked at 1 or 2 videos about this game already, and those commentators also couldn't really, call it definitely. Okay, knight to e7. We have a anti-Berlin with d3, and everything here looks totally normal. Here, black in this kind of position, in most cases, plays the move knight g6, supporting this pawn, and we have a position that is kind of similar to the Giri Aronian game. Giri Nakamura game before. Yeah, this knight to g6, d6, c6 coming. It's always between equal and slightly better for white, this kind of position. Karjakin, however, goes d5, yeah, going for something more defined in the center. It's an interesting idea. If white is asleep and does this, then e4 wins a piece. Or if white takes on e5 here, then knight e4 also should lead to a very decent game for the black player. So what is white supposed to do? Yeah, he took with the knight on e5, and black took here, knight d2. So Anand tries to play this position, which is already rather simplified. Yeah, with the e file open, it looks a little bit like a French exchange. Knight d6 now, not a bad move at all. I'm still thinking that black also could have taken, but maybe he was a little bit afraid that in a symmetrical position he falls a bit too much behind in development. You should note that this is not such a great bishop. It has to be brought back into the play, and this takes even more time. Yeah, after bishop f5, white will capture and play queen f3, and this can be a somewhat uncomfortable initiative to deal with. Okay, Karjakin went back, and after knight b3 played that c6 move. Knight c5, a bit unconventional, putting those knights there on c5 and e5, but it puts some pressure on the queen side. Knight g6. Yeah, instead of knight g6, bishop f5 still seemed possible, as after a possible capture, black can still take with this knight. Yeah, the d6 knight is covering the b7 square. In fact, I'm not quite sure why bishop f5 was rejected. It's a totally standard idea, and there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. Yeah, Karjakin, however, went knight to g6, and now queen h5. And here, I think white probably has a little something. Yeah, he's more active, and this bishop on c8 stays passive. He took on c5 and played knight e4. This is a very direct approach. This knight is attacking the pawn, and black tries to simplify even more. It's very difficult now for white to avoid what happens. I think this is almost forced. And this is, I think, what Karjakin wanted to go for. He wanted this super safe position that now arises. What am I talking about? Bishop e4. Yeah, doesn't look very exciting, but what is white supposed to do? c5 is hanging, and if you play bishop e3 after some rook e8, for example, knight takes, pawn takes, queen moves, this is absolutely nothing for white. So I think what Anand did is exactly right. He took here, tempo on the queen, queen moved, and now knight g6 takes, queen g5. Looks like absolutely nothing, this endgame, right? Yeah, this is also what the commentator thought, and also what I thought, that this should probably end in some kind of draw. But well, the game lasted a very long time, and from here we see very, very slowly black drifting away into getting a worse and worse position. And it's absolutely difficult, at least for me and also for the various commentators, to pinpoint where exactly was the point where it gets bad for black. We look at a couple of moves, and I will point out some things, but it's very difficult, as I said, to say. The square on d6 and the d file is the reason why white is having some sort of pull in the first place. Still, you wouldn't think it should be enough to win. b3, king f7, rook d4. Yeah, gaining space, activating, and with rook d4 also having a look at this pawn. Karjakin is very persistent in keeping this pawn protected. Sometimes it can be an idea in positions where you have rooks and opposite colored bishops. You can sometimes follow this idea of giving up a pawn if you get the rooks traded to maybe draw the pure bishop ending. One idea here could be, according to that concept, to give up that e4 pawn and not stick to that. However, it's not easy to do. Even if you say, okay, I don't really want that pawn, it's not helping me, it's not so easy to give it away. Yeah, let's say, what is black supposed to play then? Let's say rook c8 or something. Yeah, white will take. What are you doing now? Bishop f5 to activate. The issue is that this rook is all of a sudden getting active here, like this. And it's not really clear that this has helped much. Yeah, you can try this kind of thing, but white is covering, and did black really benefit from this? It is not totally clear, and it's a difficult decision. Yeah, I mean, you're sitting there and are on a +2 score, trying to get a world championship match. Do you give up the pawn here in order to defend? Well, Karjakin couldn't do it, and really, he's not to be blamed for that. a4. Yeah, he played rook e7 now. Here, maybe the move g4 was interesting to get pawns traded. This is definitely in black's interest if we get pawns traded. White, I guess, wouldn't have taken but played the move h4. And this is something that's very hard to assess, if this kind of g4, h4, if this is really something that helped black. Yeah, this, for example, can become an option now. Very tough call. I think I rather won't play g4 but yeah, I'm not a super grandmaster. Rook e7 was played, and now white went to play g4. Bishop g8, and now we see the rook is away from the action. The bishop is away from the action, and white gets to move his pawns forward. b4. Yeah, bishop c8 was played. Bishop g8 was played, I'm sorry. And now b5. After b5, Karjakin, that's been a long day. Karjakin played the move rook to c8. Here and one move earlier, it was an idea for black to play the move a5. Maybe this is one key moment in this ending, because after a5, black tries to take on a4. If white plays this move, then black will take and go a4, and he has a clear counterplay with the a pawn. So it's not totally clear what white is doing after a5. The computer suggests rook d8, but after the capture and rook e8, black has excellent drawing chances here. Yeah, an ending, let's say like this, where white takes the pawn, is just absolutely nothing. Yeah, black has no problems here whatsoever. This pawn structure is a complete wreck. Maybe a5 was a key defensive resource that Karjakin should have gone for. Bishop g8, however, and now b5. Yeah, now it's basically too late. Yeah, if you play a5 now, then white is grabbing this. Yeah, rook c8. And b6. Yeah, white has made huge progress with his pawns, and now we see that one of those advanced pawns can easily prove to be very dangerous to fight against. Yeah, rook c7, and now black should not take on c7. Yeah, giving white this pawn on the 7th rank is a bad idea. Yeah, for example here rook c8. If you try that, there's rook d7.
Check.
It's very, very annoying. So he kept it on the board, king to f8 and c4, limiting black's bishop. Yeah, bishop e6. He's now dropping this pawn. I mean, not blundering it. He just decided that he does not really need this e4 pawn. Takes. King to f7. And now f4. White has to use all of his forces. Takes and rook c8. That was probably Karjakin's intention when he gave away the pawn. Now Anand, the next couple of moves, Anand plays very, very nicely. He plays f5. Yeah, he also can take on g5, yes, but this is just a worse version of the game. f5, bishop back, only move, and now he plays the very nice move h4. This is very, very strong play. If black takes this, white has rook d4, and the bishop has very little options. Yeah, if he goes to e8, then bishop f4 and rook d8 is already winning. Or after this, there's g5. Yeah, black is amazingly helpless in this position. Or king to e8, and again bishop f4, and fantastic. Yeah, this is a very nice position. White here will probably just pick up this pawn later and continue to win. This pawn is too hard, yeah, to play against. Yeah, g6 was played by Karjakin, and now rook d4 again. Black has to take. Takes. And here black does not have the time to take on f5, as again bishop f4 wins a piece. Which means the bishop had to move, and now white got in f6. Super dangerous, yeah, this pawn. Still, it looks like black can put up resistance, and Karjakin did. He played and defended this for a very long time. What I cannot tell you, and what is really difficult to do, is if there was a better defense for the black player now from here. I think actually my hunch is
Check.
that white should win, and this is also what Grandmaster Lars Bo Hansen said. He thought that white should have a win in this ending, even though it's not a totally clear-cut thing. You cannot just say, okay, you play this and this and this, and black resigns. Still, it's probably a win, but it's not easy to do.
Check.
There was still also
Check.
a couple of tricks along the way that I want to quickly point out. This is one of the tricks.
Check.
Check. Rook a8, king e6. Here, this is one of the tricks. Here, white should not grab that a6 pawn, not being too eager, as rook h3 all of a sudden poses some awkward problems. Yeah, here white has to play bishop h4 and just give up a piece. Yeah, I mean, he has a couple of pawns, so it's not like white is losing here immediately, but it's something that you would rather want to avoid.
Check.
Yeah, Anand just brought this back, preventing any rook h3 business. It looks a bit slow, but it's probably not a matter of time, this position. You just have to find the right maneuvers. a5 is a move that looks a bit questionable on general grounds, as it becomes under fire potentially from the bishop. But as I said, I cannot really give you a complete analysis here if there's some kind of miracle draw that black might have if he avoids it. Maybe he can defend tougher if he's not playing a5. But still, I feel that there should be a win.
Check.
The next interesting little point is this: white should not take on a5, as king to b7 is trapping the rook. It's quite a funny position. Yeah, white can maybe just about draw here, but it's not a great idea to grab the pawn. So he found this instead. Bishop to h4 and allowing the king now to enter. Yeah, here we go. And black is running out of moves. After rook e7, Karjakin resigned. It's completely over now, and you cannot go into this ending as after these moves you're put into a complete Zugzwang. Yeah, you will lose the bishop now as you run out of moves. So a great win by Anand in a completely, in a technical masterpiece probably. He did not seem to have a huge advantage. It looked like there should be some draw defense by black, but it's very hard to prove, and ultimately Karjakin couldn't hold it. And we know already from this tournament and other events what kind of tough defender the Russian player is. So yeah, excellent effort by Anand, who is again back in the lead with a +2 score right after his loss in the round before against Caruana. He's back in the lead with a +2 score, while Karjakin is falling back to a +1 score. Yeah, a very nice round here, this round 11. I hope you enjoyed the coverage, and also will watch the remaining 3 videos that I'm going to make for the final 3 rounds. It will be a tough finish, very close one. Thanks for watching.